Well, we're recording. Um, Welcome everyone. What is today's date? November 1st. That's pretty wild. Um, Before we dive into today's content, I just want to do a couple of course updates. These will be shared in a Canvas announcement, just so it's kind of more official. But I've also, I think, teased it on Discord. But um, main things being, we're not going to have class on the 15th, I believe. Uh, Whatever Wednesday is the week of GIS Day. I was informed there's a department mixer happening on campus or near campus. And so it conflicts with our class schedule, but I'd really encourage you all to go to that mixer. Um, and because there's not going to be an associated assignment, I'm creating an alternative extra credit opportunity for you all where um, I'm trying to incentivize attendance to post GIS Day, which is later that same week. So I'll share details on when and where to be for PostGIS Day, but it's a free virtual event about the PostGIS platform or the tool. And there's a lot of different talks throughout the day. Hopefully, there's at least one that's convenient for you. But if you attend one of those talks and write a 3 to 4 sentence paragraph, kind of synthesizing the talk and how it relates to I guess your interests in GIS, and if you can speak to maybe some programming interests or tech interests generally, that'd be awesome. And it's worth 5 points. And that's just 5 points extra credit on top of your grade that you can use to kind of bump up your score if you maybe missed a lab or just want to get a crazy 120% in this class, which no one's gotten that high yet, but I've definitely gotten like 113s and 115s in previous courses. I'm cool with everyone getting an A. So um, everyone get an A. That'd be sweet. Besides that, I think the Thanksgiving week falls immediately after that week. And so I guess we're not going to have class on the 22nd either. I think it's just like a campus closure. I could be wrong, but if anyone wants to pipe in and verify or uh, refute my claim, but I believe campus is closed, so we won't have class that night. And so just wanted to bring that to your all attention and that um, I'll try to make some extracurricular learning activities with some extra credit opportunities built in, just because there's a lot of free time during the holidays too. And if you can maybe learn and get some points in your free time async, why not? And if you're not interested, that's cool too. It's not going to make your score worse. It's more just opportunities to learn and get some points for it. So more coming on that later, but yeah, I want to make sure you all are getting the most out of this class, even if we can't necessarily meet every week, just because learning happens in many different ways. But besides that, I'd like to, I guess now pivot to the course content for tonight, but I'll have one call for any kind of open questions or concerns. I've had a few of you reach out about having issues with, I guess, getting a deliverable.txt file to download or upload. So you did screenshots. That's cool. If anyone is running into issues where they can't upload because it's closed, let me know and I'll open it for submission for either lab. But I think the deadline was last night for both lab 1 and 2. So don't hesitate to reach out. Discord is great because I'll see it the soonest, but my Gmail account is also a pretty fast way to get to me. But yeah, besides that, I think I've covered everything on a more administrative level. But yeah, I definitely would suggest going to PostGIS Day, any kind of GIS Day events, whether it's by the department or the LA County. I think that is a great opportunity to learn, but also network and just see what's going on outside of the Long Beach kind of bubble. Because I think every department and company is its own bubble. And so it's really powerful to cross-pollinate and learn from others who are maybe doing it differently. And it's not necessarily wrong, it's just different. And so I'm very much pro just giving you all opportunities to learn how different people are doing things differently. It's not always maybe what you're taught in class, and that's okay. What you're taught in class is super valuable, but also there's lots of ways to peel an apple. Some are more efficient than others, but you could do it by hand if you really need to. But yeah, with that, I'll open it up and stop blabbering. If anyone has a question, I see Fernando raised his hand. What's up?
I just had a quick question, actually two different questions. At any point today, or I can meet with you in office hours, would you be able to give us an example of exactly how to edit when we do the nano command?
Yeah, totally.
And then second question was for our deliverable. So I got the tree to show on there, but it didn't show like the GISC 605 slash CILO underscore basics. It kind of showed like some numbers. Is that normal?
I think that it's happening for certain Windows users. I'm seeing that someone else mentioned that too, so that's totally fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And if you're not on a Windows, let me know. But I think it's that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
cool.
am a
And
Windows, by the way.
okay, cool. And then for the nano editing, just raise your hand again later, like after kind of lecture and the lab walkthrough, and we can totally do it. Or if you want to do that in a more kind of one-on-one session, we can do an office hours kind of thing. But I feel like others would probably benefit from it, so I'd rather just get it on this recording too, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. Thank you.
Sweet. But yeah, if anyone has a question at any point throughout tonight, just use the raise your hand function, and I'll probably see that sooner. The chat, I might not notice it immediately, and also don't hesitate to just unmute yourself if you have a question. That really works too. So I just want to put that out there. But yeah, last call for questions or clarifications before I dive into lecture 3.
I sent you a chat if you didn't see it. It's Talissa, by the way.
Oh, cool. The submissions yet. So if I have an issue, I will definitely reach out individually to students like, hey, I have problems with this submission. So I won't give you 0 if it doesn't work. Because especially in these beginning labs where things sometimes don't work. But I have not checked anyone's submission yet. It's hectic right now. Yes, I will let you know if I run into any problems. And that goes for everyone. Late on Friday, and it's just been like a busy week at work too. So my day job, so it's just been, but also hectic. So I am not caught up to grading. I guess it was due yesterday too, so I don't feel too bad that I haven't checked everything. But yeah, sorry I don't have a direct update to you, but I will let you know if I run into issues. What night is campus closed? Are A+ is a thing in grad? Officially, get an A, but you'll know that you got an A+. I wish there was an A+. I think it depends on the school too. I don't think they are at Long Beach, but I have a plus and minus system. So hopefully that answers. K-Jazz, heck yeah. Sorry, I'm checking the chat now. Okay. Alexa, play lo-fi music. Yeah, totally. Maybe I'll have a soundtrack next time if I can figure out how to get OBS working again with Zoom. But yeah, let me again, and we'll jump right in. So here's that meme that I was sharing earlier. It's all right, but it's kind of. Oh, do you still see me?
Yeah, we can still
Yes.
see you.
Okay, cool. Perfect. And now let's go into lecture. Can you all see lecture?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. If you want to view this in real time as a Google slideshow and download it or whatever, just go to the slides section of our website, and there will be a specific slide for today. And you can follow along if you like. I just have it open as a PDF so that I don't have to deal with weird screen resizing. So tonight we're going to do an introduction to version control with Git and GitHub. Hopefully by the end of the night, you have a better understanding of version control as a topic and why it kind of matters to people in GIS, and then how tools like Git and GitHub empower you to do version control. Let me move my screen a little bit, or I guess, is that fine? You can see everything. It's not, nothing's being cut out. I don't see the chat anymore, so verbal confirmation.
It looks, yeah, it looks fine.
Decent. Okay, cool. Thank you. The struggle bus tonight. Zoom is really not great for this. So objective, familiarize you with the fundamental concepts and practical function of Git and the GitHub UI. So it's going to be not as much coding tonight, so much as understanding how people collaborate on code projects and how they share their code with users. And so it's kind of more of a meta lecture and lab assignment where you're not going to have to code anything, but you're going to be using GitHub to learn how to store information in things like repositories, issues, and pull requests. And these will make a little more sense as we walk through tonight's lecture. So you might have asked yourself, what is version control? It's really just a way to track changes to a project across people and teams. And so I think one instance of version control that you're all very familiar with is something like Google Drive, where you can have files that you can kind of edit over time and revert back to previous versions of the file. Say like you catastrophically mess up your term paper, you can go back to like an hour ago when it made more sense and it wasn't just junk or whatever. The same thing applies to code. There's lots of different tools that let you do this, but generally version control systems are just used by developers to help them work together more seamlessly. We're humans and we mess up, and so it's pretty common to need to go back to a previous version of your code. That's just the way it is. And so without tools like version control systems, you have to really aggressively click Control Z or Command Z, depending on your operating system. And that only works while it's in memory. And so if it's someone else's code that you want to revert back to some other version, can't really do that without something like a version control system. And so in a kind of more, maybe not explain like I'm 5, but explain like I'm less technical, it really just, if you screw things up or delete something, you can easily recover and go back to when you didn't have it lost. And so when you're learning code and kind of tinkering with projects, knowing this kind of in the back of your mind, I hope gives you some reassurance that you'll never totally mess up. You might like mess up your project, but you can always revert it back to a working state. And so I want you to familiarize yourself with Git and GitHub, which is an implementation of a version control system, early in your development careers, because having exposure to this will really benefit you as you're learning, but also as you're building projects and working in the field, whether you're actually coding day in and day out or just kind of more a project manager planning things. In my current day job, I don't code at all anymore, but I'm constantly in GitHub, kind of coordinating and planning with engineering teams, with designers, with business people. It's just a platform where companies kind of collaborate. It's not the only one, but it's definitely a huge, huge tool used in industry, governments, you name it. This is another thing that the guy from LA County emphasized when I talked with him. I think his name was David. My memory is not what it used to be, but they heavily use GitHub and are really interested in talent, i.e. Applicants that have GitHub experience. And so throughout tonight's lab, you'll get your first, I'm assuming, exposure to GitHub, and we're going to start building your kind of street cred on GitHub by doing this work and having it reflect publicly on your profile, because I guess these version control systems have morphed into more than just ways to make sure your code isn't messed up, but there's kind of a social network aspect that is really helpful, kind of in the line of LinkedIn, where you're able to market yourself from a skills perspective and what you're interested in, but really kind of in the technology niche. And I know people who've gotten jobs from just their GitHub or their GitHub profile, because it's a proof of work and what you can do. And so that might not apply for everyone, but I think that it's a super useful data point as you kind of work through your graduate program and transition to whatever the next stage is in your career, whether that's returning to your organization and just kind of using your skills immediately, or kind of pivoting to something new and seeing where that takes you. So I think GitHub or version control systems generally will serve you very well, but then diving in specifically to Git and GitHub will be very valuable. And so I'm not just like waving my hands and saying, oh, GitHub is great or version control is great for developers. It's also for people who might not consider themselves developers or engineers, but actually GIS practitioners, analysts, you name it. So I've listed a few different projects that are pretty heavily used across GIS. This first one, it's not a project so much as an organization. I think most of you have probably heard of Esri. It's a huge GIS company, and they have public GitHub repositories where they share code with the community and their users, but then they also have private GitHub repositories that are just for internal use only for the software. When I was working at Esri, I was predominantly using their private software repositories that customers will never see, but there's just like internal tools that are developed that don't really need to be in the public. And so GitHub lets companies have public view projects and also private view projects, and that's super useful depending on how your business is licensed. So yeah, I encourage you to check out these repos. I guess it's early enough in the night that I'll just kind of open each one of these, and if you'd like, you can investigate on your own. Just kind of click through the slideshow and you will find all these links. Another project you might have heard of is QGIS. It's an open source GIS platform across operating systems. And so this is just the code for QGIS. Like, it's just here. It's on GitHub. You can look at it. That's kind of like, it blew my mind when I first started learning about this stuff. Like, what? Like, it's not just this file that I download or something. But it might eventually become that. But before that, it just lives probably on GitHub or some similar competitor as a bunch of files. Another project, PostGIS. I have a shameless plug for PostGIS Day again, but here's a repo with all the code for PostGIS and just different information about kind of tests to ensure that it's production ready and robust for use by different companies. And there's just information about translations, how you can get support. They have chat rooms to get help, how to download usable. And so GitHub has a lot of stuff, and most of it is free, and you can just like use it and learn from it. So I encourage you in your free time over the next week or so to just investigate GitHub. Even if you just stick to the repos that I've shared with you, I think that'll kind of open your eyes to what's possible with code, projects, collaboration across companies and teams. Like, some of these projects have hundreds and thousands of contributors, and that's kind of wild. And they're all working together online, probably on Discord. And that's pretty cool. Another project that you'll likely come across towards the end of the semester and next semester in GISD 606 Applied Remote Sensing is GeoPandas. This is a data analysis library in Python, but with a GIS spin. And so we'll get some exposure to this later this semester, but this library is heavily used in academia and industry. And so we'll get some exposure to open source GIS with Python, which is pretty cool. This was one of the first libraries that I dove into on my Python journey, and it served me very well in grad school and beyond. And there's a non-GIS version called Pandas, which is even more widely used in academia and industry. So I think this will be a very good intro for those that are a little more, I guess, analysis minded. And also this is kind of the building blocks of building cool visualizations, because if you have your data clean and ready, you can make cool interactive charts and stuff. Planet Labs is another private company, microsatellites doing, I guess, for sale high-res remote sensing imagery. They have a ton of repos here, plugins to access their data with QGIS, with Python, interactive notebooks that teach you how to use their software, which is pretty cool. And so a lot of these projects have tutorials baked in to these repos so that learners are empowered and aren't just like sitting alone on the struggle bus forever. Another cool thing is these repositories often have a website associated with them. So it links out to more human readable documentation, which oftentimes is like just necessary to totally understand what's going on. So I encourage you to follow out links from these repos on your learning journey, because that's where a lot of the actual integration and I guess quote unquote intuition around how to use these tools develops. It's kind of a combo of reading the code, tinkering with the code, but also reading the documentation and repeating indefinitely. I alluded to interactive visualizations previously. GeoViews is one such library that I'm just aggressively scrolling. Sorry, I was looking for a visualization, but maybe they'll have some here. This is a library that nicely ties in with Python and lets you create cool interactive visualizations. Some you can also make static ones, but you can have pop-ups, and you can access like base maps. A lot of these tutorials are very beginner friendly. Some are less so. It just kind of depends. Usually they'll say this is like an intro or beginner tutorial. I'd say that most projects are pretty good about specifying that. And you can see here, you can reproduce this map using these 5 lines of code as long as you have GeoPandas installed. It'll just pop this out, which is kind of cool. So I think that it blurs the line between what is beginner friendly and what is not. But I'd really encourage you to even just check out the gallery and get inspired by what's possible with this code, or with code in general. These are just some very specific examples, but I think using this kind of analysis and visualization is powerful on a variety of different, I guess, research applications, etc. And so, yeah, I'd encourage you to just look around and check out GeoViews. And then finally, for our whirlwind tour of GIS projects on GitHub, we have PG routing. This is a kind of connector to PostgreSQL, hence the PG. So it's in that same friend group as PostGIS, but this really is a library focused on kind of routing. And so algorithms that help you determine the distance between points. And for us, I think one that's particularly interesting is stuff like driving distance. This is super cool. If you think about applications that are pretty commonly used, something like Uber Eats, there's routing occurring, and oftentimes that's shown to you as the user. And so likely they're using PG routing or something very similar. And so you can kind of dive into the different types of algorithms that are used to route between points. But yeah, here it extends PostGIS and PostgreSQL for geospatial routing and network analysis. Yeah, I think that covers it for the repos I shared, but I'd encourage you to just do some digging and even just like look at the Esri organization and check out what projects they have that you can view and see if it makes any sense, what's confusing. And if you have anything you want to share next week in class, I'm happy to kind of do my best to disentangle the confusion if anything arises. But I'd encourage you all to bring a repo next week. It's not like for points or anything, but just as part of your learning, and we can maybe go through it together and see what looks interesting, what's confusing, and what we might cover in the remainder of this class. Do we have any questions before I kind of pivot to what is Git? Anything in chat, but don't hesitate to unmute. Okay, cool. Let's go into Git. And we're about a third of the way through this lecture, so just giving you kind of a check-in. A little longer this week, but it's still not going to be like a crazy multi-hour lecture. There's just some background information we should get on the same page about. So Git is a version control system. There's others that are used, but I'd say most people are using Git. That's not a very scientific quantity, but yeah, most in industry. And so if you have some familiarity with this tool, you're already speaking the language of most companies, and that's powerful. Especially if you're jumping in on a more junior role, that'll really give you an edge as you're trying to learn everything else that goes on at the company. Not having to worry about learning Git is great. So with Git, as a version control system, it has things called commits, which let you save the state of your project. And so you can commit like a snapshot of your code, your technical documents in time, and then your computer is kind of making a record of that. And then if you do some more work, save another snapshot, you could theoretically revert back to a previous version if you're no longer satisfied. That might seem kind of abstract or weird, but this often happens if you're maybe getting review from a coworker and they're like, oh, hey, John Doe, Jane Doe, this is messed up. Like, did you consider this when you were solving this problem? They might use nicer words than that, but that's kind of like the TLDR. Go back to that version and try something else. And so in collaborative settings, oftentimes there's like a push-pull of work happening, work that maybe has to get redone because you didn't fully understand the problem at hand. And so Git lets you efficiently kind of revert between versions. And the nice thing is, if nothing changes, Git doesn't just make unnecessary copies. And so it's very kind of efficient for doing this task as compared to other version control systems. And I'd encourage you to check out this resource that I've linked here, where I've largely copy pasted from, because it's the official Git kind of textbook, and they have multiple chapters on Git. This is in no way me saying you need to read these chapters, but if you're interested in learning more about Git and how it's used and more the kind of functionalities as it relates to the command line, I'd encourage you to check this out. Today, we're going to be focusing predominantly on using a user interface version of Git, which is called GitHub. But as you continue on your developer journeys, you'll likely need to use Git from the command line. And so we had to include some memes too. So Git is like the industry standard right now. And this might not make sense, the subversion, but this is like an older version of a version control. So I said the real version control. And then perfection is just having multiple folders or versions. So like final version, final version 2, final version. This time it's personal. You know what I mean? Like, I think we've all fallen into that trap of having versions of a document, whether it's a report, some analysis, and the endless copy pasting of versions to just maintain that special aspect you don't want to lose. With Git, you don't have to worry about that. To the grave final. Yeah. Just submit the first draft and call it a day. No. But Git really comes in clutch. But yeah, it's really that kind of the pain point of knowing you need to have multiple versions of something, but not wanting to copy paste it into like a Windows folder and have like 20 versions of the file and you don't know which one you're actually working on anymore. That's a pain. That happens with code too. And so Git is a particular type of version control called a distributed version control system. And so this is really conducive to collaboration with many people. I'd say in most companies, you have more than one person working on a project, even if it's code. And so having a way to collaborate in a distributed manner is essential. And so with Git, people have kind of versions of the project that they've downloaded to their computer and are working on. And then Git magically lets them kind of merge it back together. Because if John is working on file A and Jane is working on file B, they can easily merge their changes in together simultaneously because they're not really interacting. And so Git's great for things like that. Because a lot of the times people are working on the same project, but they're working on different sides of it. And so it would be kind of a pain if Jane was blocked by John or vice versa. But with something like Git, it really opens the door for parallel work, which is it's clutch. Time is money. So if you're on block, that's great. And so GitHub is this platform that offers a UI, a CLI. It's currently owned by Microsoft, but it really lets you use Git in your browser, which is pretty cool. And it kind of blurs the line between something like Git and Google Drive, where as we were looking at some of those projects that are GIS on GitHub, you saw like it looks kind of like Finder or Windows Explorer, where there's like folders and files, but then you can like open those and see what they look like too. And so it's kind of like a version of Drive, but a little more enhanced. And so this meme is sort of getting at that, where if GitHub is like the lowest level, take this as tongue in cheek, then you're leveling up to Google Drive. And even higher meta is like you just take pictures of your code. And then the most extreme is like you read your code aloud and put it on Amazon as an audiobook. And so it's pretty absurd, but GitHub really lets you share and disseminate your code and collaborate on it in a way that few other tools really get at. And I've been harping on the code side of things, but I have coworkers that are technical writers that don't code at all, and they live in GitHub. The like technical documentation can live in here too. And so I'd encourage you to think about the ways you use Google Drive to store maybe data analyses, images related to your analyses, and you can do that all on GitHub too. And it's kind of easier to share. You can even build websites with GitHub for free. So the assignment is creating a free website with GitHub. But I encourage you to peek around GitHub and just see all the things that it offers. Like a public and private views in GitHub. Some of these functionality are kind of paywalled. So certain things are just there when it's free. And if you pay for GitHub, you get other features. But you really don't need to pay. There's everything you need and more on the free tier. So I'd say don't spend money on GitHub now. And oftentimes your company will pay for it. So just do the free GitHub. So I've kind of foreshadowed or just referenced repositories a couple times. You a directory on your computer or a folder even, but it's like enhanced with a bit of version control goodness. And so these repositories can have a state that you save, i.e. with a commit. And with that, multiple people can be working on a single repository and merging their work together. And that can all be shown on GitHub. and so people can kind of see what's happening in real time. So in this example, there's Chan, Maria, and D'Angelo, and they all have a local clone of this project on GitHub. Say they work at the QGIS team. So each of them has a version of QGIS that they've cloned, which is another word for download, and it's on their computer. And so they can work on that project separately and then kind of combine their collective work together back on GitHub so that users like you and me can download QGIS and use the tooling that they've built. And so it's kind of blurring the line between GIS user and GIS software engineer. But I think that as you go deeper into GIS, that line gets thinner and there's much more kind of collaborative discussions. I mean, when I worked at Esri, a huge part of it is talking to customers and seeing their pain points and adjusting our code to make the software better. Very similar at my current role too, not in GIS, but it's just, that's how software companies work. And so I think as you enter kind of roles that have users and clients that might have opinions on features, even if you're not necessarily the one coding that new feature, having an appreciation and understanding of that flow of information from user to developer and then back to the user as a new feature is super powerful. And I think will also help you if you're ever communicating with software engineers or complaining to them about some feature that doesn't work. And hopefully you'll have some empathy that it's oftentimes a long process because there's lots of things that have to change. Yeah. I'd also encourage you to check out this reference from Amazon. Amazon AWS is, I think, the preeminent cloud computing provider in the world for the most part, I'd say. Or I mean, yeah, there's other, like Google and Microsoft have their own competitors, but I think AWS is the top dog globally. John from LA County mentioned the importance of AWS. I don't expect you all to be AWS gurus by the end of this class or even this program, but I would encourage you to just remember these kind of names, AWS, GitHub, look into them in your free time, maybe learn about it, see what it's about. And as you hear other people besides me talking about this stuff, it'll make a lot more sense. And then you'll be able to maybe ask a clarifying question like, I've read this about AWS, but how are you actually implementing it? And then you can spark conversations with people. And that's kind of like networking 101, which is great for getting jobs. And for me, like the grades, the lab assignments is really not super important. I want you all to just get like awesome jobs and be fulfilled that way. And I think code is a really solid pathway to get there. Not everyone needs to be an engineer or should be, but having an empathy and understanding for the process is going to serve everyone, whether you're in marketing, business, writing, engineering, whatever. All right. So let's continue with some more key features of GitHub repos. That's short. Like most people don't say repository just because it's kind of a pain. So they'll say repo. So if you hear repo, just know that we're talking about GitHub repositories, whatever repository. Branching is this process where you're able to kind of split your work into different versions in parallel and merge it back. And so this is kind of a different view of Chan, Maria, and D'Angelo. So they've likely created a clone of the original project, and then each of them has their own branch that they're working on. So yeah, like a tree. And so once Chan is done with their changes, they'll merge their changes back from their branch into main. And so this is highlighted in depth on this AWS resource, but it's also, if you just Google like what is branching, GitHub, you'll get dozens and dozens of articles. But it's really kind of in a graphical form, the process of taking this starting point, building features, merging that feature back into the main project, maybe seeing that there's a bug that pops up and you need to fix that. And maybe that morphs into a new feature B, and that needs to get merged back into the software. And eventually there's this point where the software is released to the public so they can use it. And so this is kind of the life cycle of a piece of code that is sold or downloaded to be used. It's not specific to a GIS software, but GIS software follows this kind of path as well. We've also alluded to commits previously. It's kind of like a snapshot of the current state of your project, but you can also have a commit on a specific branch. And so say there's the Alex branch of the GISC 605 project, and I want to commit a change to my branch, but not push it to main for others to use it because I'm still kind of figuring out how I want to approach the problem, but I want to save my work. And so you're able to kind of save snapshots of your separate branch, which is super helpful when you're kind of doing experimental kind of digging on, does this make sense? Is this possible? Trying new approaches that you maybe aren't sure are going to work. Being able to branch is super helpful. And then being able to commit to that branch is great. And this figure just kind of shows how commits are, I guess, counted and tracked and displayed in GitHub. This is a repository called Octorepo. It's private, which is not the default setting, but it's allowed. I think you have to pay to have private repos. And then, as you can see, 2 minutes ago, this change was merged in, and there's been 178 commits. 13 minutes ago, there was a change to this other folder, but the most recent change is 2 minutes ago. And so as you familiarize yourself with GitHub, you'll see this kind of view of different projects. And I hope that you're able to kind of see like, oh, they haven't worked on this project in 5 years. Maybe it's not active anymore. Or, oh, they made changes today. Nice. So it's even a way as like a consumer to see like, oh, is this project actively maintained? Or is it just something that has gone to die on GitHub? And so that's something that you'll, I guess, build intuition for as you're exploring GitHub, is just seeing, oh, this is legacy code. This is not used anymore. It's just up here. Or it's like, this is under active development. Maybe I should be careful if I use this in my project. Things might break. And so there's not necessarily a steadfast rule to follow so much as warning signs to look out for. And throughout this course, hopefully we empower you with some of those detectors. And then what are we on? Slide 11 out of 15. Okay, we're getting there. I think we should be done by 7 with the slides, and then we can jump into the lab. And we can take like a 5-minute break too, bathroom break if you all want. But another key feature of a GitHub repo is a pull request, which is an official message to other contributors on the project to review the changes that you've committed. And so say I'm working on my Alex branch of the GIS 605 repo. I'm satisfied with my changes. I'd like Jane Doe to review, or I'd like Chan to review my changes. And I trigger that with a pull request. Within a pull request, you can also often tag a specific person, like, hey, Chan, or hey, D'Angelo, please look at this. But oftentimes projects will have some bot set so that someone is just automatically assigned on the reviewer team. It just depends on the project, how big it is, how much kind of automation they've put in place. But really, the point of a pull request is to signal to other project contributors, I'd like to merge my changes, or I'd like to have you check that my proposed changes are valid on this project and that we could press the merge button. And then the merge button is really after you've gotten review, if you've confirmed with everyone looks good, nothing's going to break, maybe even someone tested, you can merge your changes into the official main branch of the project, and your contributions are now part of the living, breathing software that users are using. And so oftentimes these aren't hugely separate. Like you're not going to do a pull request and then wait a month to do merge. It'll oftentimes pull request, the review happens that same day, and then you can merge in your changes. It's not this whole grandiose process. It can be, but usually it's not. And again, I've linked that AWS resource because it has plenty of information about repositories, and I didn't want to just link GitHub resources. And then kind of zooming outside of just the code, these last two features of GitHub are especially important if you're a developer or a non-developer, because as a product manager, I'm often working in issues, which are kind of a way to track your work in your repo. And so you're able to kind of have these digital sticky notes with kind of associated logs where people can kind of discuss ongoing work, link that to specific code files and changes, and really collaborate on the project. And so these issues are specific to GitHub. I don't think there's a thing called a Git issue. And so it's often easy to conflate Git and GitHub, but they are separate things. GitHub is a product by Microsoft. Git is this open source tool, and one of the main creators was the originator of Linux, Linus Torvalds. But GitHub issues are super useful. I'll share, let me try to find an example of an issue that I'm working with. I'm not actually logged into GitHub right now on my personal computer, which is a bummer. But I'll share a link later in class to an issue. But this screenshot kind of shows you what they look like. Actually, I'll just open a random repo. So I work on a project called The Graph. I'm sharing a link to our issue board. But this is one of the projects I work on in my day job, and we have a bunch of open issues, a bunch of closed ones too. But you can see we're kind of surfacing errors that might happen, or kind of confusing parts of a software, or even a feature request from a user. We're kind of sharing information about that problem, maybe linking to who surfaced that issue. Oftentimes you'll even include screenshots or links to like Discord or Slack to specific people. And then you can see that Tiago, my coworker, was adding some labels so that they could kind of categorize this problem. And so these are just ways where you're able to really, here, that's me. You can track work that is in progress, work that needs to be done in the next quarter, and work across teams to really track progress, share across quote unquote organizational silos, which is a term you'll probably hear more and more in your jobs. Yeah, this is one example of GitHub issues. Another project I'm working on is called GraphNode. This is not GIS, but it's open source projects. Ton of issues here too. The conventions for naming these issues is slightly different here. You can see we're using bug for bugs, and then for feature requests, we have this feature thing. This guy, David, is like a guru wizard. But you can see he's created plain text explanations of the problem or what the feature request should be, and then adding some kind of technical information. This is specifically some, I'm not even sure what this is, YAML and like SQL and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of SQL actually. So we use PostgreSQL at my job too. So even outside of GIS, PostgreSQL is super popular and useful. That's all I'll do for issues. I just wanted to give you some examples of real world issues. And then the final key feature of GitHub that we're going to cover tonight is the project. You can think of a project as kind of like a board of issues where you're able to filter and sort work in progress. So the previous view we had wasn't super helpful because you can see there's just a long list. I can't really easily navigate across what's in progress, what's not. It's kind of just a long list. And so with things called projects, you're able to actually view what's happening on a more kind of human understandable level. And so the way this project is kind of organized, we have a couple different views here where you're able to see kind of different snapshots of the project, but we have different sections where we can categorize work. Inbox is kind of where stuff just arrives and we haven't necessarily triaged it, but need to get around to it. Then we have like a bug report section. We have a feature request section. We have like a to-do, which is like a almost in progress. We have in progress, we have blocked, in review, changes requested, and then like a merged section and closed. And so we're able to kind of filter and sort views or issues. Another way you can filter and sort by labels. And so it's nice because say you just want to only see the really urgent things that need to be fixed. You can have a snapshot of that updates in real time, but only looks at the super high priority stuff. And so as a product manager, that's super helpful for just prioritizing what needs to be done and changing that as business needs change or software breaks. And so I'd encourage you to check out these links too from GitHub. These are like the official docs on issues and projects, but this should give you a nice overview of how this is used in the field. And hopefully that snapshot into some live projects gave you some context. And I'll share that link to the project in case you'd like to peek around. It should be open public view, so it shouldn't block you from viewing. Some other projects that I'm a part of are private, where the public can't really see it. And so that's another nice thing about GitHub. You can have work that you share publicly, but then you can have private work that maybe is a little more sensitive. Say you have security vulnerabilities you're needing to fix. You don't necessarily want to broadcast that to your users or your competitors. And so you can have like some guardrails on what's public and what's not entirely public. So now that we've gone through this lecture, let's get started with the week's lab activity. I was pretty good, spot on with finishing at 7. So I'd say, let me stop sharing for a second and we will kind of reconnect, pulse check. Let me check the questions. So I see one from Muniba. In Git, do you run code like an integrated development environment, or it just saves the code like a notepad? Can you please repeat the part by why someone or a company would use Git? So Git doesn't exactly give you like an integrated development environment for coding, so much as really intelligent saving, reverting functionality. So I don't want to just equate it to something like Notepad, but I'd say it's like if Notepad got a PhD and became a professional athlete and an astronaut and like cured cancer, because Git can do a lot. And a company would use Git because they have more than one developer working on projects and need to collaborate across like more than one computer. In general, if you don't have something like Git, it's very challenging, or a version control system. It's very challenging to have work done across more than one person. There are some cases where that's fine, but in my experience, most software projects involve more than one person. And so you need a way to have like a quote unquote source of truth that you can update periodically, but then work on it and not necessarily break it. I think companies love using something like Git because they can have like a production main version that's live, and then simultaneously be developing the next version of the software that may or may not be breaking without totally screwing up their users. And so you can kind of continually develop things in parallel to having a usable version of software that your users will ideally pay for. Hopefully that answers that. So we can run code in Git. Not really. So Git is it's like a tool that you use to track changes to your code. And so you wouldn't necessarily use it to run your code so much as to make sure that you're tracking your code. It's kind of like a layer above running it, but it's used when you're running things. And so you might be in terminal running a command or a script that you've written, and you'd use Git to save changes to that or track changes to that script. And say you make a change that's bad, you can easily revert, even if it's like 10 versions back. I think that's the problem with more simple like text editors. You can't easily go back to like what you were doing on September 14th at noon. With Git, you're able to really precisely go back to a specific version in time. And it might not even be your version, it might be someone else's. And so it's just a powerful kind of collaboration tool. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, no obvious questions or whatever. That's a great question, Debbie. So we're using Git in the browser, i.e. through this product called GitHub. You can use it on your Mac, your PC. I think you could probably use your cell phone if you really needed to. It would just be really small and annoying to type. And so that's the nice thing about these web user interfaces, is that it's not operating system specific. But you can use Git on any operating system. You just have to install it. And so it's available across platform. There's Git for Mac, Linux, Windows, you name it. The installation process is not always the same, but once it's installed, the behavior is largely the same. And then, are the GitHub lessons beginner friendly and detailed? Yes, I hope so. And so the lessons that we're going to be going through today are actually some official GitHub learning lessons from Microsoft, and it's targeted for the first day of GitHub. And so I think that they're going to be fairly beginner friendly. If we run into issues, we'll run into issues, and that's where I'd encourage you to post in Q&A on Discord, because then we can work together. Is Git similar to versioning on SDE in ArcPro? I can't speak too much to ArcPro just because I don't have much experience on that. And when I was at Esri, I was on ArcJS Online. But based on just versioning, I would say probably. But let's Google it. ArcGIS Pro SDE versioning. So is it something about geodatabases? Okay, cool. Don't have to use same release. The version. It looks like it is sort of, yeah. This is more once the software has been kind of released to end users, but it's kind of a similar concept where you might have different versions of your code. And so Git lets you have these different versions, and you can package them and ship them to users. Yeah, you're welcome. Cool. Let me pull up this week's lab and then share my screen again, and then we can get started. Hopefully I gave people some time to do a bathroom break. If not, don't hesitate to shout out and we can take a 5. But if not, we can just jump right in. So I'll leave a little breather now if anyone wants to say pause, and I'm super cool either way, but just let me know. But I guess this this bathroom break can also overlap with creating a GitHub account. This process is pretty quick, but it's necessary to complete the lab tonight. So I'd encourage you to create a GitHub account if you haven't already. Let me share my screen, and I'd say create a GitHub account, and then if you want, you can go take a bathroom break. And if not, you can just hang out here. But this might be a good place where it might take like a minute or two, just with like filling out a form. And we can just naturally pause for a second. And so I'll share a link to this in chat, but it's also available on the lab instructions, which I will also paste in chat.
Hi, Professor. I have a question. This is
Yeah, what's up?
Viviana.
Hey.
In regards to making the account, which do you prefer for us to do? Like our Long Beach email or more of a personal email? Because I know, for my undergrad, like my old like account, you can't, access it after you graduate. So I'm assuming it's the
Personal.
same thing for us as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, use
So,
one that you will have access to after Long Beach, because I think that the beauty of GitHub is that all your work through the years is really tied to your identity, and that's kind of your look at my merit badges, look at all this cool stuff I've done. It's part of your portfolio as a technical person. And so yeah, I'd encourage you to pick an email that's one that you are not tied to your kind of educational status, whether that's like a Gmail or whatever.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. But if you want to just use your Long Beach one, that's fine too. But I'd encourage you not to. I'm actually gonna stop sharing so that I can see your statuses. But I'd say once you've installed GitHub or created an account, could you please raise your hand? Just so I know approximately what percentage of the class is done and who still needs to kind of set it up.
You mean just create the account?
Yeah, straight up just create an account, raise your
Yeah.
hand.
All right, got it.
Yeah, I don't want to leave people behind. And so I think this is a natural kind of pause point. And if you're already like logged in, feel free to go like get some water, bathroom break, or just chill here, meditate a sec.
I think the
Whatever
hand's
works.
lower after some time, so maybe a different.
Damn. Okay, just post a chat then. Just like in chat, say like done.
Oh, I wasn't on mute there. Sorry. Oh, you're on mute, Professor. Or Alex, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, next time I'll bust out the guitar and some synths, maybe a drum machine. We can have a jam session between slides and lab exercises.
That's what we need. Yeah.
Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 done. So that's just about half. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer just to give people some time, but I'd say if you want to come back at 7:12, we should probably be done. But yeah, I just want to give people a sec before we jump right in so they don't get left behind, because we're a team here. Cool. Maybe I'll wait until 7:11 and say, okay, cool, let's get started. Yeah, I'll go slow in case anyone's still catching up, but I'm gonna share my screen again. And this is the first exercise we're gonna be working on today. A little different than last week. I'm not gonna run through each of the exercises with you together because I think part of the learning experience will be having a little bit of, I guess, independence and ownership over going through this, but I will be around this whole class, but I think it'll serve you to attempt some of these by yourself, and all of them have working instructions that will get you through it. We're going through 3 labs today that are kind of required. They won't take very long for each to complete. They should be all well under an hour each, probably closer to like half an hour or less. But these are just kind of reinforcing some of the concepts that we talked about today and giving you some applied practice in using them. And so I'm going to do like a high level overview of each of the 3 required labs and then the 1 optional extra credit lab. But overall, this lab assignment is worth 15 points, but you can score up to 20 if you submit everything, including the extra credit. And so I encourage you to try the extra credit because it's great having extra points. But the first lab we're going to do is this introduction to GitHub. This is kind of day 1 learning how to use GitHub with the user interface. It's for new developers, new users, and students. And so you're going to get introduced to repositories, branches, commits, and pull requests, which is stuff we've talked about already today. And the deliverable you're going to be creating is a file, a markdown file, which is just a different text file format. And you can use it as your profile kind of page. So when people go to your GitHub profile, they'll see some information. And it should take less than an hour, probably much less. And so we're going to create a branch, commit a file, open a pull request, and then merge your open request. And so really each of these classes or labs kind of follows a similar flow. And so I'm going to wait to do the how to start this course until I cover all 3 topics or all 4. So I just want to go over intro to GitHub to start. That's worth 5 points. The second lab is, or the second part of the lab is reviewing pull requests. So this is a slightly, I could say it's like if do the intro one first, this is a natural kind of second lesson to work through. And this is for developers, new GitHub users, students, people new to Git. And you're going to learn how to request a review and how to provide a review. And so this is super helpful when you're collaborating on a team, building software together, building analyses, just working together generally in a kind of computer-based company or industry. And so we're assuming that you're familiar with what we covered in part 1. So this is kind of a convenient next step in your learning journey. And this one should take less than 30 minutes to complete. And I think a lot of it will just be kind of waiting, maybe rereading something until it makes sense. But it's not, I'd say, technically super, super demanding or challenging, so much as just maybe some time to let it simmer as you're learning. And in this course, or in this part of the lab, you're going to open a pull request, assign yourself, leave a review, then you're going to suggest some changes, apply those changes, and then merge your pull request. So this is you wouldn't necessarily do all these steps by yourself when you're working on a team, but as part of working on a team, you might do each of these steps at different times throughout your week on different projects. Cool. The third and final kind of required part of the lab is communicating with Markdown. And so this is building on what you did in lab 1 with the Markdown file, but learning how to do nicer styling and stuff. And Markdown is used so heavily on GitHub for issues, projects, wiki pages. Yeah, GitHub has its own wiki system, and it's all written using Markdown. And so if you have like an understanding of how to write things in Markdown and style them, you're way ahead of the curve on communicating as part of like a tech team. A lot of the work on these projects is not necessarily writing code, but it's like writing documents so that people understand how to use the code. And so Markdown is used heavily in documentation. The company I work at, Edge and Node, the project that we lead has this whole repo called docs. And this is just our documentation lives in here. And it's all written in Markdown. And so it's super convenient because if you need to change something, it's not that hard to write Markdown. You just need to kind of practice a little bit. It's almost like writing English, but with a couple extra like characters. So if you want to have a header, you got to lead with a £sign or a hashtag, depending on your generation. And so you can see this kind of looks like English, but it's a little ugly. And so in this lab, you'll learn how to write like this so that you can actually see, oops, click the wrong thing. So you can actually see beautiful documentation. And so these docs look like this when they're kind of magically converted. And so you just have to edit Markdown, but then the website magically converts it into some text with colors. And I mean, it's just a bunch of text, but you can see you can embed code in Markdown. You can have links, you can embed videos. And so it's pretty cool for communicating the work you have in progress. And then as the final learning opportunity, this extra credit, you're going to take all of your knowledge from part 1, 2, and 3 and create a free website for yourself. Feel free to go hard with this over the semester, but this is really just trying to give you some exposure to building a free personal website that you could use for your portfolio, for maybe your capstone project in the program. This is a way where you can share the cool, awesome stuff you're doing with hiring managers, with your friends, your family, whoever. And it's all free. And so this course will show you how to create a GitHub Pages website. And so I encourage you to have fun with this. I mean, be respectful and kind and abide by our code of conduct, but I encourage you to put in memes and funniness in there. You can embed GIFs or GIFs, depending on how you pronounce it, and YouTube videos. So I think you'll have some fun with this last one and also get some points. But that's really it for the overview of what we're going to cover today in our lab. And again, it's worth 20 points, or it's worth 15 points with a maximum of 20 if you do the extra credit as well. So this can kind of be your first step towards that A+, even if it's still just an A on paper. And to submit this assignment, just log into Canvas and post the URL of these repos that you create during the lab, so I can just check it out and see that you actually did them. But today, we're not going to do each and every one because that might get real tedious, but we're going to at least get you started. I might run into issues because GitHub is kind of logging me out, and I have two-factor authentication installed on my old phone. So I'm not sure I'll be able to log in on this computer, but we will try our best. So we went over this part before. I guess, are there any questions before I dive into the lab? I see Fernando has his hand up. So what's up?
Sorry, that was from raising my hand that I downloaded or
Oh, cool. Okay, so no worries. Yeah, does anyone have any questions before we jump into part 1 of the lab, the main walkthrough of the evening? And if you'd rather ask it via text, that works totally fine too. So feel free to interject or interrupt while I'm talking, or post in chat, and I'll do my best to keep my eyes on the chat. I need to get another screen. 2 is not enough. I need a third. Okay. Let me share my screen again, and we will get started. Okay, cool. Let's get that chat up. All right. So I think all of these courses follow a very similar flow where you have to right click on the course or on start course to open it in a new tab. And then there's going to be some auto population of a form, just information about you, the name of the repo, and then you just need to create the repo. Once you create the repo, it might take you, or there's some magic that happens behind the scenes that it's going to update the instructions in real time. And so you might just have to wait 20 seconds or so and refresh the page, but then it'll show new instructions on what's happening or what to do next. And so I'm going to try to do this. I don't think it's going to let me log in just because I got a new phone recently and have not done all that changing yet, but let's try. Yeah, it wants, and I don't have my recovery code. So I'm not going to do this, but I've previously cloned or started this lab a little bit. And so I can kind of show you what the next, how it kind of looks next. Let me go to my repositories. So this is the version that I cloned. You'll have your own version. Unfortunately, I can't easily show you. So if anyone, I guess I encourage anyone who's brave that would like to share their screen. This could be a helpful way to show others what this step looks like. Unfortunately, I got logged out and don't have my 2-factor authentication device here. But if anyone wants to share their screen to show what it looks like when you create that issue from the start course, I would not be mad about it at all. No pressure, but if not, we can just continue. Going once, twice, 3 times. All right. So you'll create an issue or a repo, make sure it's public so that you're not weirdly charged, even though you shouldn't have put in any credit card information. But after about 20 seconds, make sure that you've refreshed your page, and suddenly the instructions will look a little different. And so by default, the instructions have more of an overview about what is happening in this course. Once you create your fork on your own personal account, this README file changes. There's some magic going on that you don't need to worry about that does this, but it's another cool thing in GitHub where you can run code for free with GitHub to a certain extent to do things like this, which is really nice. And so the first step of today is creating a branch, which is something we've covered pretty much at length today, or not at length, but a bit. And you're going to learn more about GitHub, repositories, branches, kind of reinforcing what we went through in lecture. I'm not going to read through all this because it's just a lot of reading that I think you'll probably internalize more just reading it than having me narrate. But there's some activities in here where you'll need to create a branch and kind of follow the steps. And there's some nice screenshots that should hopefully guide you as you work through this. And then as you complete this first activity, make sure that you follow the steps to create your branch and then wait about 20 seconds and see what happens with the automatic update for the next steps. So Debbie, I see you have your hand up. Would you like to?
I'll volunteer my screen just because I'd like to get some help.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. You should be able to share.
Okay.
And in terms of technical jargon, what we're doing right now is called pair programming. And so this is actually a pretty common practice at companies where you'll work with someone else on a problem and maybe just watch them code, especially if there's like an error or something. And it's super helpful to get a second set of eyes on these issues. Okay, cool. So
I've got all the pages going, I think.
awesome. All the tabs.
All of them.
Cool. But yeah, it looks good. So I see the create a branch. So it means it updated. So do you want to just work through the steps together?
Sure. All right. So without embarrassing myself. So
I mean, this is a safe space. We're all learning together, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
okay, so then the first branch would, or the first step would be at this point then?
Yeah, the activity. You're for. I mean, I'd encourage you. I guess because we're just going through the actual like technical steps, we're gonna skip the reading, but I'd encourage you all to actually read through these paragraphs because it will help building some context. I guess the main one that we shouldn't skip is the what is a profile README. Just because I think we've covered everything else at least partially. And so the README is like an about me for your GitHub profile, and you can use it to share your contact info, maybe your Twitter handle, how to reach me, stuff like that, even your favorite color. It's really just whatever you want. And so, cool. So you opened a new browser.
Yes. It's over here to the left side. Does that look right?
How did you open that browser?
So I think
Or-
I was originally.
Yeah.
Oh.
Can you let me watch you do the steps?
Okay,
in
yeah,
case-
that's why I wanted to share my screen because I got to this
Perfect.
step and then I got really confused. Okay, so essentially this was the original
Yeah.
repository, right? And then said, I had it here where it said the README portion. So then I opened up to this part. And I don't know where the repository is.
Okay, so this is like your actual, this is docs now.
Got it. Okay.
And so I'd say close this.
Oops.
You might have clicked a link. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you clicked managing your profile README, which is above that like
Probably.
screenshot, and then that took you to that doc page.
Okay.
And so
So
we
then
actually
where would I
need,
get to the repository?
yeah, so you're in your repository.
Oh, okay.
This is, you see, or not right now, but did you click that button? You know, like the can you go to the tab that you have open next to this one to the right, the update? And now can you, interesting. Oh yeah, so that's you. Can you now delete everything after GitHub/ in the URL? Or sorry, the
GitHub.
second one, introduction to
Oh, right
GitHub.
here?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, it wasn't more clear. I didn't realize there were
Okay.
two. And now press enter. So yeah, you were just in like a weird view of a specific commit, and it shows the differences
it.
between versions. But this is your repo. You see how it says this was created from the skills introduction to GitHub, but it's under your name. Now it's like GitHub, Debbie, I can't, it's like so small, I need glasses. And then skills introduction to GitHub. Do you see that in the URL?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is like your copy. And so
Okay.
each one of you will have your own copy and it'll have a different URL. So like mine is github.com/Alex-Pakolnishkis skills introduction to GitHub. And so you'll each have a distinct one. And so the next step is to navigate to the code tab. And you see how, yeah, just click that. And it's basically you're already there. But sometimes
Okay.
people aren't there, but it's just to make sure you're there. And then you see how it says main. Click that. That is the branch dropdown. And so as you're creating branches on your projects, this is where you'll do it from the user interface. And so you want to create a branch called my-first-branch.
Do we need the backslash as well? Oh, no, sorry.
No, yeah.
Okay.
And then just press the create branch, my first branch. You see how there's a button there above view all branches? Or there's like an option to click?
No.
Yeah, that, where your
Oh,
cursor is
this,
hovering.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's
Got
not
it.
totally clear, but yeah, that, exactly that.
Doesn't look like a button. Okay, so create that.
So yeah, now you've created a branch. It's going to automatically switch to this new branch. And so you see how your user interface is updated. Instead of saying main on the branch dropdown, it says my first branch.
Got it.
So you have 2 branches now, which is cool.
So you can
And so
switch between these two?
You can switch, yeah, go back to main.
Okay.
And now you can go to my first branch and it might have updated. And look, it's updated. And so now the instructions are showing step 2. And so you've completed step 1 of this part of the lab. And so I think that the hour timeline is kind of because things are kind of confusing at first, but it's not like a super involved hour. You know, it's like kind of walking through. And I think it helps that there's a lot of screenshots. So hopefully none of you get blocked, but if you do not hesitate to reach out. But yeah, I mean, Debbie, do you want to walk through this? Do you mind just like sharing screen through the whole lab?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Cool. I think that would be helpful. I wish I could. Yeah, authentication woes. But yeah, let's do this.
Is there a way to minimize this guy, or does it just go away?
What?
On
the Zoom,
the
you got to move
the
it.
Zoom.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's terrible.
Wow. All right, so that's good. And it says wait about 20 seconds and refresh the page.
Yeah. So now I would say you need to follow the steps on the left screen. And so it might be helpful to copy the URL of the left screen into your right screen so that you can like read the instructions without having to constantly scroll.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And so now you're going to commit a file. So you created a branch. It's like your kind of isolated working environment, part of the project that's separate, so you can change things, experiment. And now let's experiment and add a file. And so this activity now is your first commit.
Okay.
And so you're gonna go back to that code. Oh yeah, you're on it. And do this. Let's get this done, Debbie.
Sorry, let me know everybody else. Yeah,
she's a developer now.
All right, so yeah, let me know anybody else whether I'm going too fast or all that. Okay, so create a new file.
Yeah. And so you're going to want to call this profile.md. And you see where it says name your file. You see where it says that? Yeah. And make sure you're following the case sensitivity. So yeah, so just use uppercase profile and .md. Perfect. And so this is a markdown file. So you're going to be creating these sorts of files tonight. That's as complicated as it gets. It's really just like a text file. There's some built-in magic that lets Markdown know when you write certain commands or certain characters to do something different, but it's not as crazy as coding. It's pretty chill. So hopefully you all get the hang of it. And let me share a Markdown cheat sheet. Even I sometimes forget like what is the syntax for this. And so I'm going to share this in chat. I'll share it in announcements on Canvas and like in Discord too, but oops, always forget I'm not on a Mac. And so nope, that's the wrong. Always switching between operating systems is annoying for keyboard shortcuts. Muscle memory on hard mode. Okay, so yeah, it looks like you have everything you need. Now you just need to commit changes, and it's that green button. And so you see how there's in step 5, it's saying make your commit message add profile MD. I think that might trigger a specific instruction change. So usually you can be a little more flexible with what you call your commits, but I think in this lesson we should follow exactly kind of what they're saying. And you usually can just skip an extended description, especially on a smaller kind of learning project. And yeah, you want to commit directly to your branch. And so now you'll see that this branch has two markdown files. You'll see there's a README and then a profile MD. And you'll see the profile MD was created now or pretty recently. And then if you go back to your main branch, you'll notice that it does not have all the same files because your change was only committed to your branch, basically. And so this is a nice kind of first exposure to how it's super helpful having separate kind of like work environments that are isolated so you can build something or iterate on something and not necessarily break the entire thing. And as you can see, Debbie's screen is updated and now she's on step 3 of the lab. And for this, we're going to open a pull request, which is kind of how we're going to get the change on Debbie's branch into the main repository so everyone can use it. It looks like you opened a link to the glossary.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay, the pull request hyperlink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think in general in these labs, anything that's just kind of linked in text would be a hyperlink to like docs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And so for this, you're going to want to click the pull request tab in the header menu of your repository. And so
Got
you
it.
see how, yeah, you can just do that. There's a couple different ways to do it, and it's not the most, this is not the fastest way to do it, but it's the standard way. And then you see there's a new pull request button.
Right.
Yep. And so for the base, you want to select main, and then you want to compare that with my first branch. And so this is how you're able to kind of compare different versions of your project or your repository, see where changes happen. And the GitHub user interface really nicely kind of shows, I mean, it's not that nice, it's kind of ugly, but once you kind of get used to it, it shows you like what lines have changed, what it used to be, what it is now. And so this is super helpful when you're just reviewing a project at a glance that maybe you didn't build, but you're on the team of reviewers that needs to make sure it's not going to break. You can easily see like, oh, what Chad or D'Angelo changed. Cool. And so the next step, you want to create a pull request. And then for the title of the pull request, edit it to say add my first file. And then
Oops. And the entire description.
Yeah. Now click that. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And so this is the step where your code, it's not fully in the main branch yet. It's like almost there. We're like 95, maybe even like 99% of the way there. And I think in this last part of the lab, we will merge our changes. But you can see this is an issue here. This is like an issue view, and we're able to see kind of a history of what's happened on this file, which is pretty cool. And so now, could you refresh your README page? The one on the right. Yeah. And so now we're at scroll to the top. We're on step 4 now. And so we're going to take our pull request and merge it into main. And so the change that Debbie made, namely creating that README file or that profile.md file, we're going to now take these changes that exist in my first branch and merge them into main so that anyone who accesses this project by default will see this new file.
So real quick, I just got distracted because I also saw that an email notification came through with that push. Is that something that normally happens?
Yeah. And so you can disable that if you'd like. And I'm not sure if the lab will have that, but I can find those docs and share that with you all. But yeah, you can expect emails usually. It can be annoying, but it's also nice if you have to track changes that are happening. It's especially relevant for like collaborative projects where you might wake up and see that Cindy was particularly busy last night coding into the wee hours of the night, and you should maybe check and review their changes. So it's annoying, but also super useful to get the email notifications, but you can turn them off.
Got it. Okay. So then to merge the pull request, merge pull request where?
So you see at the bottom of your left screen, there's a green button.
Yes, all the way at the bottom. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they're like, are you sure? And yeah, you're sure. But it's just really kind of fail safes to make sure that people aren't messing up. But yeah, you want to confirm your merge. And then this has been merged into main. So before going back to the main view of this repo, you can delete the branch that you don't need anymore. So my first branch, you can just delete and save some space in your project. And that way you're not confusing new people. Like maybe, should I look at this other branch or not? A good practice when you're developing applications is once you don't need your branch anymore, just delete it. It just keeps the application tidy, especially for contributors. They don't have to worry about, does this still matter? Do I need to worry about this? Like, no, just delete it. And so
Okay.
now if you scroll up on your left screen, or actually even on your right screen, my bad, refresh your page again. So this is expected because look at the URL. It says my
Got
first branch. And so your branch is gone now. And so you want to just delete everything after, you want the skills introduction part to GitHub, delete everything tree and later. Yeah. And now just do enter. Voila. Finish. So this did not take an hour. So I guess I want to point that out that like these labs have certain time estimates, but they likely won't take you that full time. I think they were just in case you're taking coffee breaks and stuff. But oh, sick emoji cheat sheet. I'm gonna save that. That's clutch. So listen, it didn't go through to everyone, so I'm gonna reshare that to everyone because I think that would be fun. So thank you for that. But yeah, Debbie, you finished or almost finished lab 1 or part 1. So when you're doing the submission, make sure you just share this URL to this repo with me.
So this one right here, where
No,
the
the one on the
slash
right,
pull.
the one on the just the
Got
finished
it.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Cool.
that
And then,
and that's basically the deliverable for part 1, and similarly for part 2. I think you might have to, and you're still sharing, just but you might.
yeah, I just wanted to see what it looks like because I know sometimes it's like
Oh, it's like busted. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I might need to make like separate.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
It might get angry here. Like put in the URL twice. Do like the URL comma URL, and let me see if it gives you an error message. Like do a comma.
Oh no,
And
that it auto. Okay, it auto deleted that one.
okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm gonna update the canvas right now so that there's separate URLs for each part. That way you don't have to worry about this. I didn't test that ahead of time, so my bad. But yeah, let me update this assignment
No
real
worries.
quick.
That's what I wanted to ask because sometimes we have trouble like even just like sharing multiple screenshots and then it pulls us into like second attempt and it's like, oh, is it going to override my first attempt or
Like, damn it. Yeah.
I'll stop sharing unless anybody wants me to double check anything else. Going once, going twice.
No, I think that's great. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
That was super
Thank
helpful,
you.
Debbie. Yeah, of course. And I'd encourage you all, tonight or in future sessions too, like what Debbie did is super great because I could tell she learned a lot. She built some confidence navigating the user interface and is just kind of one step closer to being that power user developer guru. So like pat on the back, Debbie, that was awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna for the lab, I don't think I can make separate URLs. I can't have like multiple fields to input. So I'm just going to do like a blank text field. So just paste all the URLs into like the text box and I'll just look at it that way. So it should be, could you check now, Debbie, to make sure that works a little better for you? I'm not sure if I can,
Sure.
actually, let me do a student view.
Now it looks like a paragraph, like a text box.
Yeah, just paste them in there in like the text box. That's,
Okay.
I think that should be easier for not
Yeah.
having yeah, errors.
Okay, that works. Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks. But yeah, the remainder of these, I guess, parts of this lab, I think are going to be even quicker than this one. So I encourage you all to knock it out tonight and don't wait to do it like Tuesday of next week, just because life happens and you forget assignments are due. So I'd say work through these next two. And if anyone wants to share their screen and do it live, I'm cool with that too. Like this isn't hidden knowledge for people because I think you're forced to all do this yourselves and submit it and have your URLs. So I think if this can benefit the class in terms of learning together, I'm all about that. So if I guess I'd encourage anyone that wants to volunteer, whether it's Debbie or someone else, to step up. No pressure, Debbie, but I'd also strongly encourage someone else. But the next two required labs, I think it'll be much quicker. And then the final one is where you can kind of have fun with emojis and all that goodness.
Professor, if we didn't do the first one, can we go to the second one or we need to have the first one done?
I think you should be able to go to the second one. I don't think that it's going to stop you. I think it's more just it's kind of like a confidence builder preparing you. But yeah, I think you should be able to just jump into the list to the second one, especially if you just saw someone complete the first one. I think it won't be wildly confusing.
I can try to share my screen for
Yeah.
the second one,
Let's
but
do it, man.
I didn't get to walk with Debbie because even though I created the account, I forgot my password instantly.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
So, but I have it up. Let me see if I can get to the Zoom.
Okay, cool. And then Andrea, you have a question?
Yes. In the second activity, it says to compare to an update game.
So your volume is very low. Could you? I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little better. Yeah.
Okay. So in the second one, in step 4, it says to select and compare the drop down like main and update game for the basic, but update game doesn't exist. So you're supposed to create it. That's not in the instructions though.
Which lab are you?
The second one.
Okay, I actually have not gone that far yet. So
Okay.
I'd say, yeah, if you can wait like a minute for us to catch up with Fernando, but we will definitely answer your question very soon. And yeah, I really appreciate the active participation tonight. I think that's super rad and really valuable to just your learning journeys and my teaching journey. I'm learning too, but yeah, thank you all for kind of showing up and participating. That's super awesome. All right, I will share a link to the part 2 lab. Just give me 1 second, Fernando. I'm pasting it in chat. It might be annoying for you to find it. Direct messages. How do I do to everyone in the meeting? There we go. So
I'm on 2 screens, so it's
okay, cool. But yeah, if you just navigate to that, URL, we could start the lab.
Do you want me to share that screen on the as well?
Oh yeah, can you just share that one in general? Because we just see the GitHub, like the landing page.
Oh, gotcha. Give me one
Yeah,
sec.
yeah, the endless struggle of which tab am I sharing or which screen am I sharing? Cool.
Is it this one?
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and that's your okay, cool. Yeah. So let's start this course. So as always, I encourage you to read through all the instructions, but for the purposes of this demo, we're just gonna kind of skip over a lot of the text and just kind of work through the steps to kind of give you that muscle memory so that when you read through it again, you're more comfortable. But we're just gonna right click on the start course and open it in a new tab. And so very similar to the last lab or last part, you're just creating this repo in your personal account, keeping the name the same, keeping it public, and really just kind of cloning it. And so we're just gonna create that repository. And so like before, I think it's gonna preload with like a step 1 kind of instruction. But it'll take about 20 seconds for it to populate. So we can, I wish I had that like game show soundtrack to turn on when we're waiting for this. But if you could all imagine that in your heads, we can have this collective imagination occurring. But I'm guessing you can probably press refresh now, Fernando, and it should be ready.
Remind me where refresh was.
It's at the top. It might be blocked by your screen share. You know, like you can also do Control R or Command R. It's at the top left next to the home button. Yeah, you just clicked it.
Oh, like refresh the website.
Yeah, straight. Yeah, sorry. Just refresh the page. Yeah. And so you can see now it says step 1. And so let's go through step 1. So let's scroll down. We're going to create a pull request. And so this is where it might be helpful to have, I guess, like split screen so that you can have your instructions open next to where you're working. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that or toggling between tabs, that also works. But you're going to click on the pull request tab and then click new pull request.
Is there another window where I have this open so I can just do a split? Is it this one?
You
Just
can do a
copy
split
the
on Mac
URL.
or on PC if you do window and then press the left arrow or the right arrow, whatever side you wanted to dock to.
I'm digging these knowledge transfer. Yeah, I don't know any Windows shortcuts.
I'm just gonna share my whole screen.
Cool. Okay, cool. And now let's, sorry, I'm just getting closer to this. You're gonna, on one of them, whichever you prefer, click the pull request button and then do new pull request. And now in the base dropdown, you want to keep the main. And then in the compare one, you want to select the other one. So I can't see what it actually says, but something game.
Update game.
Yeah, update game. Cool. And so now you want to click create pull request. And so Andrea, is this kind of where you were having some lack of clarity? Or was it further along?
Can't really see his screen. It was after this.
Okay, cool. Then I'll check in Like, if you wouldn't mind, just let us know when it happens or when what part of the lab, or like, let us know when we get to that part. Yeah, cool. So yeah,
Can I
I
butt
can't.
in real quick?
Yeah, always.
So I got to the point, so I'm doing the review pull requests, and then I right click start course in new tab, and I clicked on create repository, and then it said something went wrong at the top.
Oh,
And then I refreshed it, and then it says like in like the repository name area, it says like, oh, the repository skills review pull request already exists on this account.
so it must have it created, but the interface just had an error. So
Yeah.
if you go to, could you put your GitHub username in chat?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Okay. So this is your current profile. And if you see, you have a repository called skills review pull requests and skills introduction to GitHub.
Okay.
So it created, but I think there was just an issue with the what's it called? The interface. They just had like a weird error. So I think you're fine. So as long as you go to that skills review pull requests.
Got it. I'm there.
Yeah. Oh, this is okay. No, I see what happened. It like created but didn't complete. You should see like a settings
You see
option.
settings.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, click that, and then you're gonna want to scroll to the bottom of that page and then click delete repository
Got it.
and just delete it, and then you can start from scratch with the instructions. But yeah, I think it just kind of created in a weird corrupted state. There could have even been like a network outage at GitHub for like a microsecond, and you just happen to be submitting it at that time. Sometimes it
Okay.
happens. Yeah. But you should be fine once you delete it and then recreate it.
All right. I'll let you know. Thank
Okay,
you.
cool. So Fernando, you
Yes.
are adding a description to the pull request. Now, yeah, create pull request. So cool. I don't think so. You can leave the right page the same for now. I think on the left, you're going to have to wait 20 seconds, and then you're going to want to refresh this page, the left window, and then it should say step 2. So yeah, try refreshing the left window again. Yep. So now you're going to assign yourself to this pull request. And so usually you'd be assigning someone else like on your team, because it's not best practice to like review your own code, because you're probably blind to your blind spots. You're not going to
Right.
magically see them. And so this is where you'd probably want to tag someone like Matthew or anyone, Viviana, like someone in the class. I mean, but for the purposes of this assignment, tag yourself. But just to give you context for like how it would be used in the wild. I get tagged on things when someone wants me to review some docs, if it makes sense. Other people get tagged on things when it's code. It kind of just varies in your role.
So it says under signing.
Yeah, it's at the top right. The second, there's like the reviewers and then there's assignees. And so you can think of the assignee as the person that's assigned to doing the task, and the reviewer is the person that's reviewing the work that was done.
Okay. Uh, I
And
might
so
do
when you
this.
click us, you see under assignees, there's like an option to like yourself or something. I think one of the links is like assign yourself. It's to the right, up a little.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, right there. And now your icon will appear there.
Nice.
You've assigned yourself. And then I think you just have to wait 20 seconds. And then refresh the window on the left. But yeah, these labs, I just want to emphasize, like, it's not super challenging, and that might actually make it challenging because it's like, is it this easy? But like, yeah, it's like you're kind of clicking things, and it might seem like, why am I doing this? But this is actually like super useful context for working on team projects. So you can see now we're on step 3. And so this is where, for more context, as a reviewer, you're often tasked with making sure that the changes that are proposed are actually good. They're not going to break things, annoy our customers. And so there's a lot of responsibility on this role. Oftentimes it's a more senior person on the team because they have a better kind of at a glance view of everything and how it works together, but it just kind of varies in the company. And so I think you just need to leave a review. There should be on the pull request, click files changed. Can you go to the pull requests? It's just so small that I'm having struggle seeing it. I feel like an old person. Um, but there should be a button for reviewing changes. It's probably not going to be there. I think it's going to be a little higher. Click files changed. Does anyone see a files changed?
I see it's up here.
Yeah, click that. No, it's that. Okay. And then there should be a button, the green one that says review changes. And so you're going to want to click that. And this is where you can add your review. And I'm guessing it says what to put in there. And if it doesn't say anything, feel free to put whatever you want.
Was there a comment? I didn't see one, but I just put nice job.
Yeah, I can't actually see the instructions beyond just kind of the number of steps, but I think it's just,
Add a comment with your initials.
okay, so just put I mean, I think, yeah, just do your initials, I guess. Okay, and then
Submit review.
Yep. And now we've got to wait another 20 seconds for your left window to update. But yeah, this review process is a super important part of building products for users. It's not really a great idea to just build stuff and just ship it. Like, you want to review, make sure that it's good, have tests to check that things are working as expected. Kind of like proofreading. When you submit a paper, often or most of the time, you're double checking your work, making sure it makes sense. Same applies to code. And so now, in this context of suggesting changes, you could think of yourself as someone working on this project, and you see this pull request, and you're like, hey, I think you need to tweak this part a little bit. This is how you could do that to your coworker, being like, hey, good job, but I think we need to look at this part a little more. And so this is kind of simulating that. And I think you have to go back to that files changed, and it's kind of a similar experience to the review, but I think you just have to click a slightly different option.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So I think I accidentally deleted the tab that I had open with the instructions. How would I get back to that page?
Just go back to your repository. So could you share a link of the page with your pull request stuff in chat? And I'll show you how to get back to
Do
the
you
main.
mean
I
just
guess
what
what
it
do you,
says like, oh sorry.
sorry, go ahead. What do you have open? I guess that
I
maybe that's a better
have
question.
I have the skills review pull requests open, and this is like how to start the course. And then on a different tab, I have update the game over message #1. And then it says that I updated, or it says like self-assigned 5 minutes ago, update to 3 in step and readme MD. Like that's where it shows the conversation on GitHub.
Okay, can you share your GitHub username, and I'll kind of help you like I did Matthew.
Yeah, do you want me to just send it to you?
Yeah, just in the chat, just it'll be easier. Yeah. Oh, Debbie, there's a Zoom function. Yo, where's that?
Am I missing
Yeah,
that
just
suggestion?
yeah. So Alex, click literally anywhere in the window, and you'll see it pop up for a second on the lower right hand side. It'll be like the magnifying glass, and it'll tell you what percentage you're into. And so it says like fit to window. You can just like scroll in and out, and then if you're really like, since right now Fernando's showing both screens, you can actually pan around.
Oh, I think that's a Mac and Windows only function. I'm on Linux right now, and I don't see that.
Oh,
Yeah, no, Zoom is not clutch for Linux.
To be fair, I don't see that Zoom function either.
I've seen it on my
It-
work one in like a recent Zoom version, but I might be using an old Zoom version too. So it could be my problem.
it's like
User
a really
error.
fast flash. Like if you don't activate it, it
just
goes away real
disappears.
fast. Yeah.
I just see the annotate button. That's the only thing that pops up for me when I hover.
Yeah, same.
Whack.
Did you get my username? Sorry.
Yes, I am navigating to that page to show you how to get to it. So here is that repository. Did you get that or not? It's in chat.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So this should be where you are right now.
Yeah.
And then you should be able to continue with the instructions from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Professor, I think I'm blind. I don't see that add suggestion button.
Oh, dude, you and me both. It's just so small. Could you perhaps go to just the right screen for sharing temporarily? Technology and biology is failing me tonight. And you're looking for a button that says, what was the button? Or could you like paste the instruction in chat too? Just because
Yes.
I don't have access to that one, just because I can't log into my account.
The button says add suggestion. It's like a little page with the arrow going up, and I can't find it either.
Okay,
You have to like hover on the line between the number and the code text, and then the blue plus sign will start to appear. I just figured it out.
I'm sharing a doc in chat also.
Click the blue button.
Does it matter what line I click it on?
I don't think so. It didn't specify. And then there it is.
Okay.
Anything, Professor? Like,
Does the instruction say like add something specifically or not? I'm just because sometimes the instructions have some automations that trigger off of like a specific word. So if you could just go back to the instructions.
oh,
Just to
here we
see
go.
if
You add suggestion here,
hey, there we go.
and then edit the suggestion.
Yeah, and so you can just, I guess, type whatever. I'm sure the lab says to do something specific, but that TR is just, it's going to be like a styling kind of thing. If you click preview, you can see what it looks like when it's rendered. So I think it's just saying like, or that's like what was there, and I think you want to change. So, do the instructions not say anything about what to put there?
No, it just says add a suggestion where to click, and then it says edit, and then click add a single comment.
Yeah,
and then
I'd say
wait.
just add whatever. You can just be like, "What's up?" Yeah. Nice. Okay. And then do you mind going back to the instruction or the dual view now that we found that plus? Thank you for sharing your screen, by the way. And then,
Wait 20 seconds.
okay. That's funny. This isn't going to always be like that. It's just because these are kind of tutorials that they're triggered by you doing things. Like,
I'm waiting like 11 seconds. I'm a rebel.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Live dangerously. Code fast, refresh frequently. Yeah.
Class suggested changes. Click on comment.
Yeah, and if
Doesn't
there's, oh, go ahead.
doesn't say what to write again.
Just feel free to do whatever. Yeah.
So we respond to the what's up.
Yeah. Not much. Or the
Do
sky.
I have to delete that update index thing, or
So
by default it had update index HTML.
yeah, that's fine because that's the file you're editing. It's just kind of like a default commit message, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Unless it's yeah, I think that should be cool. Yeah, I don't see anything in the instructions that indicates otherwise.
Sorry, the diff is outdated. Refresh and try again. Should I click that refresh and try again?
Yeah.
Oops.
Perfect. Yeah, it was like a weird hiccup. And I'm guessing you'll have to wait another 20 seconds.
Would that have shown up the not much on here, or is it just a response to the suggestion?
I think it's just a response. It's almost like a comment kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that'll be at the top. The green button, maybe? I'm not sure if that says merge or not.
Says review changes.
For the merge, you go where it says conversation, the first little tab.
Oh, sick. Oh, the top left underneath open.
Right in here.
You try that.
Yeah.
Nice. And then scroll down. Beautiful. Teamwork. And then just click the merge pull request. Don't do the drop down.
Okay.
Yeah. And then confirm merge, I believe. Yeah.
It says delete.
Well, you have to do confirm merge and then delete.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. You can only delete it after you've merged it. But yeah, now you can delete it.
And then wait 20 seconds.
Yep.
I like that it gives you that restore.
Totally. No, and that's the power of it. It's like you can go back. It's super nice. From personal experience, it's super nice. Both on if you mess up or if someone else messes up, it's just nice having that backup. I think this might be the end of this lab, but yeah, nice.
And then we just copy the URL from here.
Yeah, and so I think it'll probably make most sense to just paste all the URLs at once when you're finished everything. Because I don't know if it gives you multiple submission options or opportunities or just once. So I'd say just maybe run through the 3 or 4 labs if you're doing extra credit, and then paste the links into Canvas at the end.
If we exit out of like the finish tab, like on the first one, how do we go back to that?
Yeah, so the way to get to all of your repositories is you got to go to like GitHub. I'm putting this in chat. GitHub. Ah, crap. Let me get the actual link for me. It's like the same path for everyone except the username will be different, but it's kind of just a view of your profile and you just add a little bit at the end.
I got it. Thank
So
you.
it's just github.com/your username tab equals repositories. Yeah. And this will list everything you have. Yeah, that's part 1 and part 2. I believe part 3 is pretty similar. You're kind of just starting to learn how to do Markdown. And you can even notice that these instructions were written in Markdown and it has like an embedded GIF or GIF. And so I think in this next lab, you're going to learn how to start doing that kind of stuff. And it's kind of cool. It's also useful, but it's kind of cool too. Yeah, thank you, Fernando. That was super awesome. Much appreciated. But yeah, it's really up to you all. If you want to go through this last lab together or would rather just do this separately, it's going to be a very similar experience to the first 2, just slightly different content, similar workflow of going through a couple steps and then waiting 20 seconds for maybe 5 or 6 steps. And this is really, if you get through this one, I'd strongly encourage you to just do the website one because it's really just taking this one a little bit further. And you can get 20 points, which is nice. But yeah, if anyone wants to volunteer screen share, go for it. And if not, we can kind of just call it here in terms of the lab walkthrough and then pivot back to maybe open questions from lab 1 or lab 2, or even just general programming questions, career questions, whatever. So it's kind of, I want to give you all opportunity to shape the course or what happens in each class section, because I'm not just trying to dictate what goes on. So whatever you all think is most valuable of our time, I will definitely respect. So if you want to go through lab 3 or part 3 together, I'm game. But if you just want to do kind of QA, other stuff, I'm cool with that too. And if you just want to hop off and go chill out, do this later, I won't hold it against you either. So we're all adults here. It's really a pick whatever works. But I'll be here until the last person leaves. So feel free to start asking questions or working through this. If you just want to silently work through and share your screen just to show off or to help us, that's cool. And if not, we'll just kind of hang out and I'll just keep ranting.
If someone wants to walk through but they don't want to share screen, I'll keep sharing. But if you guys want to jump to Q&A, that's fine too.
Do it, Fernando.
do it, Fernando, for the recording.
All right, I'm game.
I have another question, sorry.
No apologies. Yeah, no, for sure. What's up?
So for the step where it says, for step 5, where it says to do the plus mark thingy, where it says, I can't find it anymore, index h.html, was that under the README section of the code, or was that somewhere else? I'm not sure if this question makes sense.
No, it does. I don't have an easy way to share that link, but when Fernando was doing it, it was under it was like the pull request. And yeah, Fernando, do you mind kind of going back to that files changed view on your right screen, that tab?
I clicked the index.html, but I wasn't sure if it was under that.
Yeah, you hover over the line of code and you'll see the little plus sign. It says to hover over the numbers, we have to hover over the code.
Yeah, can you go to the files change tab, Fernando? And then we'll show to Alyssa real quick. Yeah, right there. And then if you hover by the numbers, you see how there's like a blue plus?
Right.
It's that. I don't think it really matters which file. If it doesn't specify in the instruction, I don't think it really matters. But
Okay,
if it says index.html, then it's this bottom one that Fernando's kind of hovering.
right. So when you left a comment or whatever, or a suggested change, was that to any of the lines?
Yeah, I don't think it specified which line. It was more just generally like, try this.
Okay, so it didn't matter. Okay, got it. Thanks.
No, but thanks for asking that question. Super helpful, because yeah, it's not entirely clear. Yeah. All right, in chat, I've shared the link to the newest lab. Oh, Fernando did as well. Awesome. So I see a question from Brian. I'm gonna answer that, I guess, in the chat, Brian, so that Fernando can kind of continue this walkthrough of communicating with Markdown. Where I'm gonna ask clarifying questions in chat, so that way others can kind of learn from it too. So I'm gonna let Fernando continue.
Yeah. Do you guys prefer when I do the split screen on both, or just keep like the one I'm working on the main screen?
I like seeing I guess I don't know. It's hard. There's pros and cons on both. I'm cool with just this. Yeah, this is cool. Sorry if you hear aggressive typing. I'm just responding to Brian.
Professor, I have a question just to double check. To
Yeah.
turn in for the Canvas assignment, it's the links, right? The XMD links, right? That we send saying that we finished it. It's gonna have like our username on the top of the link too.
Yeah, you don't even have to send the Markdown file. You can just send whatever, like github.com/your username/ the repo name.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and just
Thank
for
you.
all the different repos. Yeah.
All right, looks like I need to find that repository. It might
Oh,
have
it already
glitched out.
exists. It already exists. Go to your go to github.com/your username. And now click where it says, I think the top right one is or there should be like a repositories tab. And this should list all your repositories. And so, yeah, open the markdown one. There you go. What we're doing, is this the one we're doing now? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Sorry if you hear my stomach. I think I'm just a little hungry. It was a long day. So yeah, we can see that Fernando is looking at, I guess, step 1, and it's showing us how to create headers inside of Markdown files. Just like you'd have one in a Word document, similar concept.
It doesn't let me edit.
Are you on the one that's yours or the one that's owned by Skills? It should say in the URL.
That's mine. Like my username should be on there, right?
Yeah, your username should be there, like github.com/your username.
Yeah, I
it's
don't
on
think
there.
that's normal because I was able to edit mine. Just FYI.
Can you share a link to that URL in chat, Fernando?
Did I skip a step? I don't think so, though. Oh, any ideas anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the base was main, and you have compare start markdown. Yeah, no, I just went through the steps and it was able to, when I did the 3 dots, edit file was not grayed out for me.
I'm in pass, buddy.
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Can you refresh your right screen?
Yes, 1 second.
Now, can you scroll down and try that again?
No luck.
That's super weird. Yeah, I'm not actually sure what's going on. Can you try to just compare or click preview? Does that work? Or commit changes? I'm assuming you're on step 1, correct?
I think, yeah, this is step 1.
Okay.
Changes.
Yeah, try commit changes. Does that green button say commit?
It says create pull request.
Oh yeah, you have to create the pull request first.
Oh, I thought I created it.
And then once you create the pull request, I think you can do the editing. So you haven't created the pull request yet? You've like initiated it, but you have to press the green button to create it. And now that that's created, you should be able to scroll down to the bottom and edit. Or you have to go to files changed and then do that. Yeah. Yeah, now scroll down.
My mistake.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah. And now you want to add the pound sign, hashtag, whatever you call it, and a space. And then just some word or whatever, anything you want to be the title. So you can be like Fernando Rocks or whatever, or programming is cool. And now click preview. And you can see it's a header now. It's not just text.
Okay.
And then just add a short commit message at the bottom if you scroll down. Actually go back to like the non-preview mode. I guess not. Okay, so
Yeah, it says at the bottom. I just did it in the next line.
yeah, there should be like a little.
Oh. Whoops.
It could also just be how the screens are zoomed or whatever. But yeah, there should be like a little place where you can put in a message, and if not, just press the green button because that should be commit changes. Yeah, there you go. You can just okay, it's like popping up instead of being there by default. And so I don't think you have to put any specific commit message so much as just something, and then commit the changes. And it's going to be a similar like 20-second kind of wait.
Too soon. Huh.
Is it not? Excuse me. There we go. So let's add an image. So yeah, you want to edit that index.md file again. And then feel free to add whatever image. Feel free to use the Yakto cat if you want, but you could also find another image, like a meme that you think is funny or whatever. It's up to you.
Don't forget to include alt text.
So basically you can copy paste exactly what they have there in the example. So the alt text is image of Yaktocat, and then the link is the actual image. And so this is kind of giving you some experience with Markdown. Technically, you could just have images with no alt text. So if you did exclamation point, left bracket, right bracket, and then the parentheses with a link, that would work. But there's no alt text. So people that have accessibility problems or just use a screen reader would not have any context for what the image is. And so alt text is great for people with just accessibility or just differently abled people. And so in general, websites and apps really try to use alt text so that all users, regardless of their vision, can participate. So if you do preview, you should be able to see what that looks like. Go back to the text. Maybe add a line between the first and the second.
First and second.
Yeah, and now try it again. Try preview. Interesting. So when you go to the example instructions, click that overlapping square icon. That'll just copy the code into your, because you need all that. So I'm wondering if it's just like a copy paste error. Yeah, there we go. Awesome.
I'm gonna pass. I apologize in advance. My little guy keeps running into my room.
Dude, no worries. It's the joys of work from home, learn from home, the fun interruptions from family.
He's been shy this year, but normally he makes grand appearances on Zoom.
How old is he?
He just turned 11.
Dang, okay, congrats. That's a milestone, man. Yeah, as we speak, I'm opening all the labs. I mean, they still have deadlines, but I'm just making it so that, peace, Andrea. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time. But yeah, all the labs will be basically open until the end of the course, but they still have the deadlines of when they're due, but you'll still be able to submit them now, even after the deadline. So my bad for hard cutting off the submission. I didn't realize I did that. So yeah, I'm slowly editing all these. I'll let you know when they're all done.
How do you get back to the steps, like the instructions? I think I exited out on accident.
if you go to the repo that you're working in, so I guess it would be github.com/ whatever Debbie's username is / communicate using Markdown. And that's how you'll.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so all the assignments will be due by, or after December 13th at 11:59 p.m. You will not be able to submit anything late. But until then, you can submit on time and late assignments. Yeah, and you can see we're slowly building a more complicated page that kind of is starting to look like the instructions that we're following, which is kind of cool. See you, Viviana. Have a good weekend too.
How do we get back to our pull request?
There
And
should
then
be a
click-
pull request tab at the top.
It's like where the little one is, Rando. Up there.
Sorry.
No worries, dude. I will, and Brian, to your question, I will upload the video tonight as soon as it's basically once we're done with class. I'm still recording, so this is all on the video, so it's kind of part of the learning experience. But as soon as it's class is done, I will start uploading to YouTube and share in Discord tonight, probably, and then Canvas tomorrow, likely. But in the next 12 to 18 hours, it'll be live on YouTube. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notified. But yeah, if not, then I'll send it on Discord and in Canvas.
Use Markdown to create a task list. I think I clicked on the wrong spot.
Which step are you on now?
No, I'm on step 3. I'm looking for, or number 2, I'm looking for Markdown to create a task list.
So hold on. Step 3. Or no,
Yeah.
step 4.
Step 4, yeah.
Oh, I think I completely missed step 3 then.
That
So is it
says
just not working?
return to your pull request. Use Markdown to create a task list.
Yeah, so click open that pull request. Like the specific one, yeah. And now you see how you can comment at the bottom there? You can just paste it there. And now do preview. And you'll see that it renders, right? It's a little
Okay.
small, so I can't see. Buenas noches, Maria. Have a good one.
So when it says commit the changes, do I just check them off?
Hold on. Make your task list. Commit the changes to the file. Oh. Maybe it wants you to do that to the index.md. So you know the file's changed. I think it was just kind of poorly worded.
Gotcha.
And then yeah, go to like the index.md file and paste it there. Yeah, sorry, it wasn't. It was a lot of implied, like, do this.
I see.
Yeah.
I think I have to wait the full 20 seconds. So if we refresh before 20 seconds, is that a new 20 seconds?
I don't think so. It's just overall. You might just have to refresh again. It's not like at each time. Yeah, I think at this point you just got to merge it. So on the right screen, you got to go back to the like not files changed view and to the pull request view or the normal view. Yeah,
Is
the
it?
far left one. I think it's that one. I'm just going by where I remember things are, sort of, because I can't see it. And then yeah, merge pull request. Then you'll have to wait another 20 seconds. And then with this,
Just confirm it.
yeah, just confirm it.
We can insert multiple URLs in the canvas.
Yeah, I changed it so it's just like a text box, so you can paste in
Oh, Let me refresh
page.
that.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. All right, cool.
It doesn't explicitly say, but do we delete this branch as well?
You don't have to. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. It's not like a super. I don't think it matters for the. Like, I'm not gonna check that for grading. Yeah.
Okay, so that was it.
That was it. You finished. I mean, you got to do lab 1 or part 1 because you didn't do that one, but you did part 2 and 3, and then the extra credit is very much kind of building off of this part and just kind of tweaking some more markdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Professor, if we're gonna open it to Q&A, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. You earned it.
I got thank you. I got the hang of most of the commands. The only one I don't think I understood was I think nano, that was for editing.
Okay, cool. Let me open a killer coda. Oh, God, that's gonna give me grief because I don't have GitHub on this. Hold on. But yeah, we'll make do.
Do you want
I
me
mean,
to share and then
nah, because it'll be easier for me to just do the commands and show it. Let me open a terminal and then I'll just share my screen. So give me 1 second.
Hey, Alex, I kind of like zealously just like submitted my assignment. If I were to do the extra credit, could I submit that to you separately?
Does it only allow 1 submission?
Let me check.
Yeah, if it
There's
allows
another.
more than 1, just do another one.
Okay, I can do a new attempt.
Yeah, just do a new attempt. Yeah. So can you all see my? You see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me. I'm gonna just create a new folder real fast. Or yeah, make dear.
Wait, for clarification, what is this for?
I'm showing how to use Nano,
Okay, okay.
and so I'm just making a little like isolated environment so I don't mess up something that I don't want to mess up. So I'm just creating a new folder called testing GISC 605, and then I'm going to change into it. And then you can see it's empty. So now I'm going to use Nano to create a new file and immediately start editing it. And so I just ran the ls to show that there's nothing in here. But if I do nano new file.txt, you can see that my interface kind of updates now, and it's showing this GNU Nano 4.8 with the file name new file.txt, and you can add content as desired. Technically, you could write in Markdown, write Markdown header if you want, but it's not going to render since this is a, oops, caps lock, a txt file and not MD. And so the way to exit this, or the way that I usually save, is exiting and then confirming that I want to save. So you can do, if you're on Windows, Control X. If you're on Mac, I believe it's going to be Command X. And then you'll see it says asking a question, save modified buffer. I'm going to do yes. So it's just a Y. And then you press enter. And
oh,
so
so
now,
did you
oh,
kind
what's
of
up?
the text open right there? The text file open and you just kind of wrote something?
Yeah,
Is that what?
literally. It's just like opening in your terminal, and then you could just
Oh,
like, and then if you do like ls, now I have a new file.txt. If I do cat, you'll see that it shows the content that's in there.
gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood that
No,
part.
it's all good. Yeah. No, it's kind of weird, but like, yeah, it's a way to like do quick edits to things, and you don't have to like open Word or open Notepad or a whole another application. You can just do it in terminal, which is nice.
Okay. That's all I had. I had one more
Cool.
question. I think you're gonna laugh.
Dude, no, it's I mean, I might
Well,
laugh,
no,
but it's
you can laugh. And I guess I'll take the hit if I have to. I was looking at the submissions for the labs and I don't know why it says mine's missing. I'm pretty sure I turned it in, and then I was gonna say many of my classmates should have been able to vouch that I did it because I helped a lot of people.
No, totally. Yeah. When I grade, if there's anything that's missing, I will directly reach out to the student that's missing things to clarify, like, did you not turn this in, or like, what's up? So
I can show you. I can put a screenshot of the timestamp to show that the deliverable was done before the due date.
yeah, here, let me. So this is lab 2 or lab 1?
Yeah, sorry, lab 2. I get confused because
No, I feel you.
I
Safe.
consider the program, the first command one, lab 1, but it's lab 2.
Let me. Crap, I forgot how to do this in Canvas. It says I have like 17 submissions, but yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's showing you don't have one. Just upload one, and I'll make a note.
Do you want me to put a screenshot of like the timestamp?
If you
Just to
want,
show.
but it's like no biggie, to be honest. Yeah, especially for
Okay.
these like intro labs when like things are kind of wonky.
My apologies. I'm not sure. I should have double checked. Usually I screenshot all my submissions for this reason.
Dude,
But
no
I guess
worries. It's all good. Like it's chill. Yeah, it's not like you're asking me like a week from now. You know what I mean? It's like this was the first chance you had to really like talk to me, so it's cool.
okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No more questions on my part.
Cool.
But I appreciate you being willing to let us walk through the labs.
No, I mean, I think that's. I'm glad that y'all are game for it because I don't want it to just be like hang out for a bit and then peace out and then there's no community building. I think this is part of learning is having your kind of peers working through it. And I'm like technically the lecturer, but I feel like we're probably all closer in age than other instructors. But
Are you gonna be at GIS Day, Professor?
most likely not, just because it's kind of a drive for me because I live in near Joshua Tree. It'd be
Okay.
like a 3-hour drive, but I'll be there in spirit, and I'm gonna try to get a post GIS Day session or two. But yeah, this year I just can't make it because I'm still kind of moving in. I just started a new lease in October, and we're still kind of setting up the place, and so life's a bit hectic in many ways. It's good, but it's just busy.
For sure. All right, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thanks.
everyone. I think I'm gonna head out, by the way.
Peace. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for doing the walkthrough.
I
That was great.
appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good night, Andrea.
Good night, Fernando.
Now we have the ghost of Fernando.
I'm trying to do the extra credit, but it's not being easy.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know. I'll just run through it one time and then if it's
I'm gonna
just
go to, let me pick up the instructions too. I
is this
found a way to
shared?
view the
Okay,
instructions.
yes, you can see. Yeah. So, that's not even the actual instructions, is it? Let me see. Oh my gosh. I'm not used to Windows and I'm still learning how to use it.
I feel it's a struggle. It's a struggle.
Let's see. Yeah, so it says to
Yeah.
I did all of this. The only thing that I'm potentially is that it's not even letting me select deploy from a branch. So maybe that's why it's not updating even after I save it. And it did let me save before. I was able to save earlier, but when I refresh, it doesn't. Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'm at step 10. Okay.
That 20 seconds. Yeah.
No,
More
this
like
was like
2
a
minutes,
while
10
ago.
minutes. Yeah. Dude, no worries. That's all good. But yeah, I think that sometimes it's just wonky. It could even be that it was busy and things got backed up.
Okay.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
think you should be good. Like the
Yes, I
instructions should
will.
update, but yeah, I think
Mhm.
that was just like a weird freak accident of
Okay.
not upload or not updating.
Yeah. All right, then. Thank you. I'll
Yeah,
let you go
you're
and
welcome.
hopefully get good food.
Yeah, no, I gotta figure something out. But yeah, have a good one. See you next week.
Thank you, you too. See you next week.